we appreciate your support, and all of North Texas, all the counties have really supported, and this started with Governor Abbott signed an application, a proclamation as well. But the only thing I leave is if you're over 45, make sure you get checked. It's a simple blood test first. You don't have to be scared. A lot of people don't want to go get that check, but it really is a simple blood test, and that tells you a lot. If there's any family history, make sure you get checked earlier. But prevention is very easy if you know early. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, at this time we're to citizen comment. Does anybody want to address the council regarding anything on the agenda this evening? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The first consent agenda items are items to be considered routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion, unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. These items are G6, G7, G8, G9, G10, H1, I1, and J2. Would anybody like these broken apart for any reason?
Move to approve consent.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Okay, the next consent agenda are items that are considered routine will be enacted in one motion, subject to our staff review letter, without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. The consent agenda items subject to staff review letter include items J3, J4, J5, J6, J7, J8, and J9. Would anybody like any of these broken apart for any reason?
I'll make a motion to approve the double asterisk consent agenda, subject to the staff review letter.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Mayor,
you,
who made
council.
the second, please?
All right, this time we'll open public hearing. Linda, if you'll read E1 for us, please.
Ordinance 6519, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow a ground-mounted solar unit in an R1 one-family residential district at 1523 East Wells Avenue, being all of Lot 14 and a portion of Lot 12, Block 3 of J.C. Lindstead's addition, consisting of 0.236 acres.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, this item is for a specific use permit to allow ground-mounted solar in an R1 district. Planning and Zoning Commission met on this item and recommended approval 6-1 at the last P&Z meeting.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay, if not, Linda, if you'll read E2 for us, please.
Ordinance 6520, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow wholesale construction and building material sales and outdoor storage in a C2 General Commercial District at 3601 North Travis Street, being Lot 1, Block 1 of Covey Addition, consisting of 6.624 acres and being 4.71 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey Abstract Number 763.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a specific use permit to allow wholesale construction building material sales at the location used to be the Goins Lumber. The proposed tenant is Beacon Roofing Products. The address is 3601 North Travis Street. Planning and Zoning recommended approval 7-0 with the condition that the areas indicated as fencing would be a wood fence instead of a chain link fence. And those conditions are added to the ordinance that's in front of you today.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay. Okay, you're here to answer questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Linda, if you'll read E3 for us, please.
Ordinance 6521, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, ordinance number 2280, so as to include certain property within the R1 one-family residential district located at 615 South Hazelwood Street, being Lot 2, Block 7, CL Stowe Addition.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a zone change approval from a C1 district to an R1 district so that the property owner can continue its use as a single-family home. Planning and zoning recommended approval 6-1.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Linda, if you'll read E4 for us, please.
Ordinance 6522, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending ordinance number 6326 and Chapter 13 Utilities, Article 13.11 Impact Fees of the Code of Ordinances, City of Sherman, Texas, which established land use assumptions, capital improvements plans, and impact fees to be assessed by the City of Sherman, Texas, updating the land use assumptions, capital improvements plan, and impact fees for water, wastewater, and roadway to be assessed, amending procedures for the assessment, collection, computation, expenditure, refund, and general administration of impact fees, providing for the establishment of accounts for impact fees, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're going to talk about impact fees now.
Okay.
Last meeting, we had a great presentation from April with Kimley Horn. She's here to answer any questions. Both Robbie and I will kind of tag team this a little bit and answer any questions that you may have throughout the evening regarding this item. Since our last meeting in August, the CIAC met. The CIAC is required by state law to meet. It's the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee to review impact fees, impact fee recommendations. Actually, they're required to meet every 6 months. But as this plan was being developed, they're required to meet and provide recommendations for you all in the decision for impact fees. This chart, this table you saw last meeting, except for the columns on the far right, the CIAC recommendation to council, was not included in that because they hadn't met yet. At that meeting, the CIAC recommended of the maximum assessable out of the new study, they recommended 75% of the maximum fee be collected for impact fees. That's their recommendation to y'all. In addition to that, there you go. You may or may not remember that in the last ordinance that was adopted in 2020, that there was a special conditions for certain uses for a reduction of 75%. 75% of reduction for residential in Area 3, which is the area that's south of 82 and east of 75. We also had a reduction of 75% for recreational uses, religious institutes, nonprofits, dining uses, other retail commercial uses that generate sales tax. So CIAC's recommendation to council is to reduce that from 75% reduction to 50% reduction. This is the max assessable impact fee that can be assessed, and April showed this same slide at the last meeting. Essentially, what it's breaking down is a few land use categories and what the maximum assessable rate could be based on the calculations that April presented that's required by or allowed by state law. So this is the same as last time. This is what the CIAC would recommend based on a 75% of the max rate. Each of the sub areas, SA1, SA2, SA3, SA4, are for roadway impact fees. Those apply to a certain districts, and then the water and wastewater rates would apply to the entire city and service area. This shows what the comparison to other cities, similar cities to ours with those same land use categories. We are currently assessing a collection rate of $2,500 for single family, which is 1,000 roadway, 1,000 water, and 500 wastewater. With the max, that number is the possible total number could be 11,311. What CIAC's recommendation would be $8,484 in Area 4. That comparison to the other remaining cities is about on par a little higher than Melissa, which is 5,300, but generally around the same rate as the other cities, other peer cities in our region. And then just going down, I don't need to go through each one of the land uses, but that comparison of our max rate compared to what CIAC recommended, and then what other cities charge for impact fees. So with what's been said, what's been presented, and the presentation that April shared last meeting about the land use assumptions, the capital improvements program, here are just a breakdown of some potential options. We currently assess 1,000 for roadway, 1,000 for water, 500 for single family equivalent. So one option could be 1,000 for, if we kept everything consistent for roadway, as opposed to having each service area being a different fee, if we kept all those four the same, we could do 1,000 for roadway, 3,000 for water, and 1,000 for wastewater. That would put a single family equivalent of 5,000. Another option would be getting closer to the CIAC recommendation, which is 75% of the max, but with a standard fee for each roadway district, 1,000, 5,000, 2,000. And then if we did it the way that CIAC recommended, then there would be a different single family fee depending on the location within the city. And so you can see that ranges from 7,500 to 9,500 if those are different. So the recommendation, or what staff is looking for from council tonight, is a motion to approve the land use assumptions, the roadway, water, and wastewater capital improvements plan, and impact fee calculations as were presented by April last meeting, and also that's included in your packet. And then a motion to approve the ordinance as written or with additional comments as council determines.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, council, so we'll have a chance to, the council to discuss this after public hearing, but we will be, those recommendations by city staff, just for the audience's sake, as a staff, we believe we're very low on that scale. We kind of went through this discussion a couple of years ago when we were first kind of proposing this idea about impact fees. It's unusual for cities our size not to have impact fees. Most developers would say if they've done any business outside of Sherman or certainly Grayson County, that's kind of the norm. The other thing to remember, and it didn't get hit significantly during the presentation, but these fees only recuperate a small percentage of the actual costs of this infrastructure, the roadway, the water, the sewer infrastructure that we're putting in. It's not intended to pay for most of the cost. It's really just intended to reimburse the city through the development activities that are driving these increased costs. And so when we get to that time here, after we close public hearing, we will want to have a discussion just about, hey, what are some different ways we could cut and slice and dice this from the council's perspective. But we will need approval of the ordinance for those things that we just mentioned, to adopt the changes that were mentioned and developed during the plan update, and then 2, to make a decision on both the timing and the actual rate that we charge. So we'll be looking for those 2 things here in just a few minutes.
All right. Thank you, guys. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay. Linda, if you'll read E5 for us, please.
Ordinance 6523, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Chapter 1 entitled General Provisions at Article 1.07 entitled Aviation to delete sections 1.07.003 entitled City County Airport Zoning Board, to delete section 1.07.092 entitled Use of Airport Restricted, to amend section 1.07.093 entitled General Rules and Regulations, to amend section 1.07.096 entitled Aircraft Operation Rules, to amend section 1.07.097 entitled Fueling Flammable Fluids and Fire Safety, to amend section 1.07.098 entitled Lease of Airport Property and Construction on Airport, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Linda. Mary?
Yes, the excuse me, the Airport Advisory Board has suggested some changes to the Aviation Division in the Code of Ordinances. Changes are just include eliminating such as the section on the city, county, airport zoning board, which is no longer in existence, eliminating rules that are outdated, overly burdensome, clarifying how we set hangar lease rates, and also clarifying our expectations for construction requirements on the airport.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Linda, if you'll read E6 for us, please.
Ordinance 6524, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing the city's participation in the Texas Enterprise Zone Program pursuant to the Texas Enterprise Zone Act, Chapter 2303, Texas Government Code, describing availability of certain local incentives, designating a liaison for communication with interested parties, and nominating Global Wafers America, LLC, to the Office of the Governor, Economic Development and Tourism through the Economic Development Bank for designation as a qualified business and enterprise project.
Thank you, Linda. Mary?
Yes, Global Wafers, the parent company of Globotech, is applying for the Texas Enterprise Zone Program for the Global Wafers America plant that will be located out in the industrial park. This is a state sales tax refund program designed to encourage private investment and job creation. This will allow them to apply for the enterprise zone designation. There's no cost to the city for this program. It's fully funded by the state, but they are required to have our support through adoption of this ordinance to apply.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone to address this? Yes. You here to answer questions? Okay. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. All right, Linda, if you'll read E7 for us, please.
Ordinance 6525, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman designating City of Sherman Industrial Reinvestment Zone Number 13, providing eligibility of the zone for commercial industrial tax abatement, containing findings that the area described qualifies for designation as a tax abatement reinvestment zone pursuant to Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code, and that the improvements proposed by the land's owner, Broadstone HHH Texas LLC, are feasible and practicable, and of benefit to the land and the city, authorizing the city manager to negotiate written agreements with the owners of any taxable real and tangible personal property located within the designated zone, authorizing the city manager to take all other actions necessary to effectuate the same.
Thank you, Linda. Mary?
Yes, Sunny Delight has approached the city about a tax abatement on their project to add 2 additional manufacturing lines at their existing plant. This ordinance establishes the reinvestment zone, which is the first step in the city granting a tax abatement. The Tax Reinvestment Committee met on August 22nd and voted to recommend to the city that we enter into a tax abatement agreement with Sunny Delight for these improvements. The city will create the agreement according to our tax abatement matrix. The plant is leased from Broadstone HHH Texas. The equipment is owned by Sunny Delight Beverages, so we'll actually have 2 tax abatement agreements because we have 2 owners. These will be on the October 3rd agenda, and we have a representative from Sunny Delight here if you have any questions about the project.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Not very talkative tonight. Linda, if you'll read E8 for us, please.
Ordinance 6526, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman declaring as elected the unopposed candidates for the office of City Council Member for District 1 and for District 3, finding that all necessary and required legal conditions have been satisfied, providing that the November 8, 2022 regular municipal election for City Council shall not be held, providing for posting of this ordinance on Election Day, November 8, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
and there is no contested race, so we can actually cancel our election.
All right, very good. All right, yes. Is there anyone here to speak about this item this evening? Okay. This time we'll close public hearing and consider the adoption of the ordinances. Do we want to?
So yeah, you might just for ease sake, we do have ordinance 6502, which was tabled at the previous meeting, and we've got an update to give on that. If you want
Okay.
to take
Let's-
that one off the table.
Yeah. Does somebody want to make a motion to take this one off the table so we can discuss it?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We'll consider 6502 in there as well. Does anybody want an explanation from Rob? Okay. Rob, give us a new information.
So since the last meeting in July that this was brought to the council's attention, the applicant has since acquired a different another location. So they're requesting half of their use to be at that location and to continue wanting to get the SUP for daycare at this location, but with only half of what they had proposed. To give you an idea, they had there had two things: an early learning center, which would be a preschool, which would have a maximum of 12 students. So that's what they had proposed before, so it would be half of that. And then I believe they had an after-school program as well that they would essentially be, and I'm not sure if the applicants are here to speak about their changes, but
She's right up there.
that's what they have communicated to us that their changes have been.
Thank you, Rob. Council, questions, discussions?
So back to that one real quick, since you just spoke about it, it seemed like in their letter they said they only needed it until April of 2023. Is that correct?
That's what I understand, that they're trying to find a better, bigger location.
Just a short-term fix. Gotcha. Okay. I'm sure we all have questions about the impact fee,
Yeah,
so we
please.
can hold that one. But
Yeah, that's.
I would
coming up.
entertain, if everyone's okay with this, making a motion on
That'd be good.
E1, E2, E3, E4. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not E4.
Skip E4,
Right.
E5, E6, E7, E8, and F1.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, so Linda, if you'll read F3, we'll catch that one that we skipped as well, so.
Ordinance 6522, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending ordinance number 6326 and Chapter 13 Utilities, Article 13.11 Impact Fees of the Code of Ordinances, City of Sherman, Texas, which established land use assumptions, capital improvement plans, and impact fees to be assessed by the City of Sherman, Texas. Updating the land use assumptions, capital improvements plan, and impact fees for water, wastewater, and roadway to be assessed. Amending procedures for the assessment, collection, computation, expenditure, refund, and general administration of impact fees, providing for the establishment of accounts for impact fees, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, council. Questions, discussions?
Do we have an infill exemption for our impact fees?
Just for
Just a
residential
reduction.
development in Area 3.
So I know we've got there's two things to consider here, I think. One is the maximum impact fee. We have to adopt the rate study.
Yeah.
And that's just saying that this could be a fee, the maximum possible charge.
That's right.
And then the other one is do we want to change it? I know there were three options presented. A couple months ago, we spoke about not changing it. That
Right.
didn't seem to be presented, but I'm assuming that's still an option.
Yeah, that's option one is don't change anything.
Okay.
Can you go back to the slide with
Yeah.
the options?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
there we go.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
So I guess my question is and I want to make sure I'm clear on this. The impact fee study we accepted, and we voted on a fee. It has not started being charged until June, just 3 months ago of this year.
Right. The original fee set the effective date for June of 2022, except that was the grace period, right? Because there was a year burn-in period for those that didn't get their application and whatnot in time.
So we started collecting fees on June 7th, 2021. There was a year grace period for any properties that were platted before that date. So June 7th, 2022 is when that grace period ended. We collected all impact fees for all new construction at that date, no matter what.
So the vast majority of our impact fees have started coming in after June of 2022.
Or for developments that weren't platted.
Yeah.
Before
I got you.
that date.
Yep. That's.
There was a number of those too.
And how much, just for my own curiosity, and I know that the industrial users that are using a lot of water do factor into these fees.
Yeah.
And so, there's a 30% increase in our maximum impact fee, I believe. And there's a substantial cost that's going to be absorbed by the rates of those users.
Right.
So would you say that the maximum impact fee is kind of a double fee for that same usage, because the water and sewer are going to be used to pay their own way?
I wouldn't say double, but what I would say is for entities that are subject to those fees, there is a credit given. So you're not going to pay the fee if you are the one extending the service. For instance, if Texas Instruments, in this case, I'm using them because they're just on the top of everyone's mind, but if they were to help, for instance, put in Shepherd Drive and pay the cost for that, they would get a credit towards their impact fee for any amounts that they contributed for that. So they're not going to be double dipping and being charged both through the impact fee and for putting in any infrastructure.
Yeah.
So this is really meant to recapture what amounts to a small percentage of the actual cost of expanding our water plant or extending roads or building new roads or same thing on water or sewer lines. And so it is true that the rates are designed to pay for most of the costs, but what these fees do are reimburse ourselves for any costs that we're paying towards the construction of that list of capital projects. And remember, part of the job of what we're doing tonight through this ordinance is approving this modification to our plan that also has modified that list of capital projects, because 2 years ago we didn't have a whole bunch of these projects on our radar. So that's why, if nothing else tonight, we need, or whenever you guys approve the ordinance, as part of that, we'll need the adoption of the findings of the study, even if you decide not to change the rates that we charge at all.
Yep. Now, I just want to get clarification if that.
Yeah, there should be no double dipping, to answer your question.
Yep. And the water rates are still going to pay for the $300 or $400 million in projects that we have.
That's right.
And so there's basically a neutral impact for those projects, although that's not reflected in the maximum fee here. That fee still, the maximum still includes that, but they're not considering we're going to charge rates for that, basically, is my point.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the maximum has gone up because the costs have gone up.
Yeah, the proportion of cost has gone up at a greater rate than the proportion of people or things that we're spreading it out to.
So if we left it the same, we would be getting proportionally less than we did when we set the rate, which
Correct.
was already set very low because at the time we were scared about
Right.
chasing off development.
Right.
So
Now, and let me understand this too, just so I have this for my own mind, but the more homes that are built, the more fees we're paid, correct? So the more we grow, the more money we make, and it works on the same project. So it's going to the same list of roads and same list of water projects.
Yeah.
If we get 1,000 homes versus 200, we just have more money in the kitty to pay for those projects.
Yes, that's correct.
but if we get 1,000 homes, we also have all the infrastructure costs of 1,000 homes versus 200. So our costs go up.
Exactly.
Well, same infrastructure is on this list for these projects. That list doesn't change.
Yeah. So
correct.
yeah. So we have to use kind of a crystal ball for the next 10 years to project what we think a list of the projects would be and what the cost of those projects would be. And then we divide that out into a whole number of different things, like how many single family units we think we're going to have, how many multifamily units, how much, square footage of industrial space we think is going to be new. So yeah, it is a lot of guesswork. It's educated guesswork based on the best information we have today. But to your point, Sean, if we only have one single family equivalent that is developed here over the next however many years, that's certainly going to generate less money than if we have 1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So in looking at the impact fee collection chart here, would you say that the proposed option one, like the CIAC recommendation, 75% of max at the bottom, if we were to adopt proposed option one, what is that percentage wise of the CIAC recommendation? Is that
It's five. I should be able to do this in my head. It's 5,000 out of eight. I mean, an average of 8,500. So 60%.
60? Okay.
Ish.
75.
So 5,000
So we're
is
still
about
under.
double what we're currently charging. Right. 2,500 is what we're currently charging. By the way, those round numbers on current proposed option 1 and 2 assume that we're charging the same rate on all 4 of those service areas, right? If we wanted to parse it out and do it by service area, that's what those numbers on the bottom would be.
So really, if the council said, okay, we haven't been into this that long, maybe we need to look at a 50% increase, which keeps us below the max quite a bit, but then leverages out what Josh was concerned about as the inflation shortage type pressures on our budgets for these projects.
And at 5,000, we would still be the cheapest, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you back up?
And that keeps us at 50%? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 50 to 60, I think is what
Yeah, that
what the
5,000.
ballpark is.
Yeah, that 5,000 represents, 8.5 of the number.
Mary?
But it's still, to Josh's point, the lowest on these single family for the peer cities that we looked at is 53.82. So it's still
Under.
still less than the lowest.
Yeah.
And the average there is probably, just eyeballing that, is probably in that 8,000 and some change range. So it's still well below the average.
I'm okay with that. But I would say, just like we did the first time for implementation, you've got people with projects in the pipeline and financing set up and blah, blah, blah. So I think we need to make sure anything that's already into the city and going, and how long does that need to be?
What we have written in the ordinance currently in front of you is that the effective date of any changes in the collection rate would be effective January 1st, 2023. That would give some time for the projects that are in the works and in process, that it would give them some time to be able to get those building permits pulled so that they could be under the old collection rates. But as soon as January 1st, at least according to the ordinance it's written, is January 1st, new rates, if council approved that, would be effective then.
Would the majority of the projects we've been discussing over the last couple of months be grandfathered in, or is this going to push forward?
They would only be vested if they got their building permits before January 1st, in the way that it's written right now.
But what we're seeing in large part, because such a high percentage of the total lots that are under development are in planned developments, those planned developments are being engaged in phases. So, pick whichever one you want to talk about. If one of them has 1,000 single family residential units, they're not pulling all of those permits day one. They're taking them down on a takedown schedule. And so what it's going to amount to is that some portion of those would be grandfathered, most likely. Some would not be. And we just can't tell how much of those. I mean, for those developments that have 1,000 single family units, it's going to be a few years to pull down that many permits. Smaller developments that aren't in planned development phase, but maybe 100 or 200 lots. They may have a good, depending on where they are in this process, have a good chunk of those. So.
Well, I think this is kind of a big, there's a lot of moving parts of this, the ask here. And so one is the easy one. Do we adopt the rate study? That seems simple to me. Okay. The next one, in my opinion, is it's more of a timing issue. We just started really charging fees 3 months ago. So is now the appropriate time. The vast majority of developers are just now starting to pay fees. My opinion is it's premature, and kind of gave them a little bit of hope that the fees weren't going to go up for probably at least another year or two. That's just my opinion. But the other thing is that the portion of taking away the discounts for our underserved areas and for our retailers who already pay the vast majority of our revenues through sales tax, and the churches, and I say the vast majority because we make more off sales tax than we do property tax, and we have sales tax in lieu of property tax. So, that asking to reduce their discount, in my opinion, kind of goes against, we're setting up incentives to bring industrial and retailers here. Same conversation we had last time, where we stuck at a 75% reduction for those, and in the underserved areas to get redevelopment.
Yeah,
So,
I agree, and that's why I was asking about some sort of infill exemption, because that's going to pump money directly into those underserved.
We can leave those exemptions the same.
Yeah, I think certainly I would encourage us to leave those the same.
I'm sorry, go.
Go ahead.
Did you not, I'm trying to remember, we did something to try and give enhancement for people to do infield construction. But it wasn't this. Infield is because they already have
Yeah, we still have,
streets,
yes.
and they already have the water lines and the sewer lines, which is why this really doesn't apply in infield, correct? Am I correct?
Yeah, you're that's generally correct. So, in addition to just giving a 75% haircut, the number of projects in Zone 3 or service area 3 is less than most of the others because that's already developed out. We're not putting new projects where we're extending water lines. Now the exception to that is we baked into this expansions to the water plant, for instance, right? So the expansion to the water plant it impacts everybody. And so when we start to allocate out those costs, certain of those costs will hit all of the areas, including Area 3. But to your point, we don't have a 36-inch transmission line planned, or a 12-inch, line planned for Area 3 where we might in areas, west part of town. So it's a mixed bag to answer the question.
Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I agree we need to leave those exemptions that we put in place. But, considering that the costs have gone up, I think that $5,000 mark I'm comfortable around that.
Okay, so 50 to 60% of the CIAC, whatever that comes out to be.
So that's what I want to ask. Do you want it? So if you're as a council suggesting that you're going to change the fee, then the question is, do you want it to be the same fee for every service area like we currently do? Or
roadway service area.
Yeah. What's that?
Roadway impact fees.
Yeah, yes, for roadway, because water and sewer are each citywide.
Well, let me ask this then: is there a benefit for the city of having more equal distribution of new homes and new multifamily projects across the city? Is there a cost savings to being balanced? Is it what I mean, if we go to zones, you're going to incentivize. So is there is an incentive to the city to do it that way? I guess?
Well, so effectively what you do when you go to just a flat fee is you pick the lowest, roadway fee that there is and apply that cap basically to all of the others. And so in this case, I believe the area 1 was the lowest fee. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
So-
1129 is the lowest fee for roadway impact fees.
Because remember, water and
max
sewer are the
we can charge.
same regardless of the only variable here on parsing it out between roadway, water, and sewer is the roadway portion, because the others get charged the same, whatever that number is going to be. But since we're pegging it at service area 1, and if you cap it at 1,000, then that's really close to the 1,029. If you look there on single family equivalent. So you might say, well, does that give a benefit to the other service areas in that where 1,000 is a lot further away from the max than 1129? So I see what you're putting there.
I would add though, if for single family it might impact, but for like multifamily, if you're spending $20 million on a project, you're going to pick the best location for your project, independent of what the impact fee is. Most of the time, that's not going to be a major driver for where you put something. Traffic and location to, it may depend on whether you go east or west of 75, but you're still not. Most developers that come in, that's the last question they ask is impact fees, not the first question that they ask.
So it may not be that much of a driver on actually incentivizing or locating a particular development in one part of the.
So by not averaging it out, you would basically, if you want to build down south where it's more expensive and you want to pay that premium, then.
And is
I
there
actually
any
like that better.
Is there any way to because what my fear with this the first time in this time is it's the small guys, it's the local builders get hit on this because they're not getting their roads paid for, their sewer and water paid for. They're coming out of pocket for that. The people that are in the TERS and the planned developments, I mean, some of our planned developments are getting millions and millions of dollars paid in their roads, okay? And our local guys aren't getting that. Is there any way to change a fee for a TERS or a planned development that's different than a single family regular unit?
So I would say that there's no, if I'm wrong, speak out, but I don't think there's any road projects that were used in these calculations that are inside the TERS or the planned developments.
Yeah, my point is
So
a
they're not
developer in a
paying-
TERS.
So they're not built in.
We're not,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're
what I'm
not
saying is a
reimbursing.
developer in a TERS that's building a home has got a part of their road paid for versus a developer that's not in a TERS that's building a small neighborhood of 50 homes, bought their own road and didn't get it paid for at all. So we're incentivizing them through another mechanism that's not an impact fee. And so they're able to charge less for that same home that a small developer locally would be able to. And so my point is there an opportunity in a planned development or in a TERS to have a different set of fees? No.
I think the answer is no.
Okay.
You can.
We have roadway project cost as they made only 1,000.
Right.
But $2 million up front to build that road. However, is that they slice it in cost. That's a different factor. I can front. I'll go ahead and take.
So there's no exemption available for being in a TERS or not.
I'm saying maybe not an exemption, maybe an extra charge, because.
So every service area has to have the same charge.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
And a lot of times these planned developments that we've put together, we've in the review process required them to do additional things to make those more amenable, whether it's trails, things like that, additional parks. So that does cost them more.
Yeah, but they're getting millions from the city and through a master development agreement. So, they're going to do some things that we ask them to do. My point is that you got a builder that's building a neighborhood of 25 homes, and they got to pay every bit of that impact fee, versus a guy that's got a TERS that's getting back millions from the city for roads. They had to pay a little bit less for that same home.
So What exactly, if you were building a single-family home, modestly sized, what would the typical impact be all in? What would the fee be?
Right now, it's
Right now.
2,500.
Okay, and we're talking about a home going up to 5,000, another
Yeah,
2,500.
that's right.
Well, I'm opposed to a rate increase, but I will say, if you're going to do it, I'd ask that it be pushed out a year to give the developers the same opportunity they had this time.
Yeah, but
Because we just started charging it.
Situation's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, we just started charging them 3 months ago, you know? So,
Yeah, but that's because we gave them a year grace.
So I was gonna say, that was the
Right.
discussion we had before, is that we put it out a year.
I get that, but, you know, this is something new for the city, and we just started charging the fee. So to raise it 3 months after we start charging it, to me, seems premature.
Robbie,
So-
quick question about, I'm under the impression a couple of these southern cities have raised theirs again. These numbers might not be reflected. So tell me why they would do that strategically, or maybe for the vision of the city. Why are they rapidly raising their impact fees down south? Is there any
Well,
benefit, or is there a strategy to that to
yeah.
a little bit more control?
So every city that has one should be doing an analysis periodically. In fact, I think statutorily you're required to do that no more than every 5 years. If they're changing very rapidly, like Southern Grayson County, Northern Collin, they're probably doing it like us every year or two. And so it behooves whatever city has these to be looking at them periodically, because that list of projects changes. I mean, just same as us, right? I mean, of course, not everybody has the TI and Globotech that we've had, of course, but I'm just saying, a growing city, things come up very quickly, and developments come up very quickly sometimes that weren't contemplated in original studies. So those cities down south are going to be looking at this just like we are, a lot sooner than every 5 years. And so we would expect those costs for them to go up just like our costs have gone up as well.
I'm just looking at the numbers of how far behind we are and how much has changed since those 2,500 was put into place, just in the time that the short amount of time I've even been on the council. We're drinking from a fire hose. So I just look at the numbers and I'm caught off guard by the vast difference.
Yeah.
And I understand, I'm not pro fee, pro raising everything, but what is. When the development's here and it's here, you got to make adjustments.
Well, and to your point, I mean, an impact fee isn't a fee; it's actually a cost recovery, right? That's why the algorithm is set the way that it's set. So we're recovering our very low proportion of our costs. Well, our costs have gone up. If we don't raise the fee, now we're recovering a smaller proportion of costs. Money has to come from somewhere. If it doesn't come through impact fees, it might have to come through a rate increase, which no one wants to do. So,
And the impact fees tend to impact those areas that are planned developments. We'll say the planned developments that are growing. And if we don't do the impact fees, then we're going to have to pass it on to the citizens who've been in their house for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, in order to be able to pay for the roadways, the water, the sewer, etc., the expansion.
Yeah.
So they're going to end up having to carry part of the burden, and that they're not, I mean, we're all going to benefit from the new roads, and we'll all benefit from having water, but I'm not sure they'll benefit as much from where they live if they already are an existing home, regardless of which section of town we're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Our cost recovery before impact fees, there's just a few knobs we turn, right? One is our utility rates. That's where we recoup our capital costs, our operating costs. On the general fund side, it's the knob we turn is property tax rate. We can't, I mean, our sales tax rate's maxed out, so property tax rate is what then helps fund our roadways. And so to the extent that we don't have impact fees, those get dumped either into the knob of property tax rate or utility rates.
And I don't want to grandstand and sound like a broken record, but if you're giving away incentives to big development, right, then it's kind of counterproductive to charging the average Joe an impact fee.
are we still doing that though?
Well, we are certainly today. I think we shouldn't be. If we're going to raise our impact fees, then we should stop all incentives in planned developments. No more roads, water, sewer for the developer. Let them cover their own cost. Because we're talking about charging the little guy and giving the big guy an incentive. So, I think that should be policy if we're going to raise our impact fee.
Yeah. Just as a matter of just comparison to the methods that the impact fee calculation goes through is adds up all the costs, divides it, applies a 50% cap to it, and then we start coming down off of that cap. So we're already at,
Starting point is 50%.
Our starting point is 50%, and if that 50% is 11,500 of these projects, then we're 30 or 40% of that 50%. And so now we're at 15%, recovering 15% of our costs. So it's not intended to recover all of our costs or even a majority of our costs. It's just intended to recognize that there is some impact then of this development on our costs, and that impact should be borne by those that are driving that impact, be it industrial development, commercial development, residential development, etc.
Is there any general correlation to a higher impact fee and a more quality product? Is that just an assumption? I'm more for quality over quantity, quite frankly. So I mean,
well, here's what I would say. I'm not a builder. On a $300,000 house, a $3,000 impact fee is 1% of the cost, which is about the cost of inflation right now on building materials historically. We haven't seen directly or even anecdotally through conversations with builders that charging the impact fee or the level of impact fee, certainly at our levels, has made any decision making impact on where they're going to build, how much they're going to build, how big of a house they're going to build.
Right. Looking at the comparisons, it's not going to make a difference for where we've been versus the comps.
Right.
That's why we're so low.
Right.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion because we're going to go around this bush all night long. So at least we'll get started somewhere. That I would like to make a motion that the city council moves to approve the land use assumption, roadway, water, and wastewater capital improvement plan and the impact fee calculations at 60% instead of the 75%, and we keep the exemptions that we already have.
Okay. So I think that gives us the clarity that we need. So that'll start January 1st.
And starting on January.
Yeah, that's already built in.
Okay, that's already built in. I was going to say, did I need to add that?
So the other thing, just to make sure, the other thing that'll change is it won't be the same fee for every surface area now. It'll look more, although different numbers, lower numbers than are reflected there on the bottom. But it'll be a different fee, one for each service area. So, okay.
Okay, we have a motion.
Have a motion. Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, Linda, if you'll read G1 for us.
Resolution 6947, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman repealing and replacing Resolution Number 6851, establishing salary structures and incentive certification pay schedules for firefighters and police officers, establishing special longevity pay schedules for newly hired firefighters and police officers, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Linda. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. How are you? Council. How are y'all?
Good.
So I have a proposal on a resolution that we would like to incentivize certified officers to try to recruit them to try to alleviate some of the hiring problems that we've had. Trying to recruit officers that are certified. I'll show you here in a few moments just how beneficial it is. So we currently do have a lateral transfer program. Those officers are able to come in at a higher level of pay as long as they meet this criteria here. That gets those officers on the street within about 12 weeks, as opposed to 17 to 19 weeks traditional FTO program. So here you'll see that typically when we hire an officer that has no experience, and we have an academy coming up, it takes about 40 weeks before that officer is actually effective on the street. If we hire an officer that is straight out of the academy, he's certified, it's 19 weeks. It's 17 weeks FTO, 2 weeks of orientation through our police department. And then 12 weeks for a certified officer. That's generally someone that has over 2 years experience that meets our lateral transfer requirements. That gets them on the street within 12 weeks, which we actually just had an officer that met that criteria, and we were able to see pretty much an immediate relief for him hitting the street. As far as the cost, it generally takes us, or cost about $67,000 to send an officer to the academy. So that's going to include his salary, his insurance, everything financially like that way. Also his uniforms and the cost of sending him to the academy. As opposed to an officer on the yellow there, the certified with no experience, it's about $31,000 all in. That's just the time to get him through the FTO program. So we're going to propose an incentive program here to try to entice certified officers to come and apply with us. And I will show you that we're not the only city that's done this. This is just a handful here. I just heard from Flores that I guess Richardson actually started theirs last month, I believe, and I guess they just took an officer from Allen. So it's already working for them. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just trying to put it in place here is what we want to do. So what I'm proposing is there's 3 different programs. One, 0 to 2 years. That's an officer who's just out of the academy, doesn't have much experience. So I would like to give them a $2,500 incentive to apply with us. And it's going to be paid over a year for them. It'll be, as you can see, $1,000 upon completion of the FTO training, and then $1,500 upon completion of their $1,500 upon completion of their first year. We've also built into that a clawback clause, so if they leave within a year, that they're going to be required to pay the city back a prorated amount of their money. So the next 2 are the ones that we're really going to see some benefit, that the officers are able to get out there, and we're going to get that certified officer who's got a little bit of experience, so we want to start paying them a little bit more. So this is 2 to 4 years. We're looking for $7,500 incentive for them. As you can see, this one is paid out over 2 years. $1,000, $1,500, $2,500, and $2,500. Has the same clawback clause as well. And then the big one is for an officer with over 4 years experience. I would like to give them a $15,000 incentive to come apply with us to start working the streets of Sherman. As you can see, it's $2,500, $2,500, $5,000, $5,000. I think that if we put this in place, that we're really going to be able to entice some of the officers locally that are at other cities, maybe even at the county, that are actually have some experience. They can come to Sherman and really do some good for the citizens of Sherman. So even if we, on the officer with over 4 years, and we pay him that $15,000, we're still going to save $27,000 on top of everything. So it's still a win-win in my book financially. We're also going to get that officer that's experienced, ready to hit the streets within 12 weeks as opposed to 40 weeks. So we're going to see some immediate results from that. So that is. And
that, Jason, that sure. 27,000 savings is per officer.
That's per officer. That's correct. Yes. Right. So as opposed to the 67,000 we would spend to send them to the academy, we would spend 27,000 or save 27,000, even with paying them the incentive. And I think it's really going to be beneficial for the city. I think that we're going to see a big growth of getting those certified officers. I mean, even when we hire an officer that's brand new, if there's not an academy available, they may wait 2 to 3 months. So those costs are going to go up on that officer that's not certified. There's been several that have sat and had to scan evidence into the evidence computer, trying to digitize everything, and we're paying them an officer salary to do a civilian work.
Chief, would this program be more effective if the bonus was higher?
Sure. I mean, I think you could keep throwing money at anything that you want. I'm not going to say no.
Well, I mean, you don't have to have the best bait. You just have better bait than the guy fishing next to you.
No, I don't disagree. As you can see, there were several cities, and most of them were out of state, that they're offering upwards of $30,000 to $20,000. I have not seen that in the state of Texas yet. I'm not saying that it's not coming. If we'd like to be trendsetters, I'm definitely on board with that.
Look, even if we went up to 20, we would still be saving 22. We'd still be saving more than we spent.
That's correct.
And, if someone else is offering 15, I think if you offered 20, if it's an incentive program, and we're competing in the marketplace, then let's compete.
Do you think there will be any resentment from the officers who are already employed by us?
So that's a great question. So that's something that we presented to the officers before I brought it to you. I wanted to get their buy-in. The officers just want help on the street.
Okay,
That's what they
fine.
want.
I just don't want them to resent, hey, you come in here and
understand that. And that was a
getting a
concern
bonus.
of Robbie's and ours as well.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And just to be clear too, so the officers that would be coming in, these aren't, even if they have, 15 years of experience, they would be coming in as patrolmen.
That's correct. Yes.
Right. So we need that, which is
That's
where
what
we
we
need to
need.
help. We need patrolmen on the
Yeah.
street. So if I'm not mistaken, the way the resolution reads, it doesn't put an amount in there. It just provides for an incentive, right? So if the council is so inclined to approve this resolution, then the staff would come up with this. But what we're hearing is you're open to more than we've presented in order for it to be effective.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also believe that it should be a little more increased if the officers are bilingual, because we need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
idea.
Sounds good to
That's
me.
a good idea.
Another 20.
Throw another 20.
Do we have Do we have a special compensation for officers?
So we do have bilingual pay. I believe it's $200 per month currently. So that would have to be another resolution where we would change that as well.
Hey, let me ask you this, Chief. So, and I'm just curious. I know a lot of these cities, they're not right next to each other. Well, the ones on the list anyways. If we had a city right next to us that started doing the same thing, do you think you'd start seeing this revolving door of getting a $20,000 check?
Well, you could possibly, but I think that's why we built in the clawback clause to kind of keep a little bit about that. But me as being a veteran officer, once I go, and if I go through FTO again, I don't want to do that. I'm telling you right now. You can ask these guys here.
Not worth it.
It's not worth it to keep moving.
Okay.
That's right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Do we want to cap it? So when you keep saying let's add a little more, we're leaving this open,
Should we give them the freedom to add more if they want?
Well,
I want to compete.
Okay, all right.
This resolution does allow staff to make
It does.
the decision on that.
Okay.
And I would say just from a risk of, look, officers, they don't want to be jumping around every year, right? Because that does not look good on a resume. And so, I think there's also other intangible protections in a plan like this that keeps someone from just chasing money.
Right. And also it gives it the resolution. It says that we can start or stop it as deemed necessary as well.
Sure.
Let's get some free agents. I move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you.
All right, Linda, if you'll read G2 for us, please.
Resolution 6948, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing purchase of Pelco security cameras for the City of Sherman from Schneider Electric through the General Services Administration under contract number GS-07F-9323S.
Thank you, Linda. Mary?
Yes, this is authorization to purchase security cameras. About 70% of these cameras will be used in the water and wastewater treatment plants, and the rest to other facilities such as animal services, cemetery, senior center. Dispatch will also have access to the cameras. We'll also be purchasing software to centrally manage the cameras.
Council, questions about the cameras?
Motion to
Discussion?
approve. Second.
Motion, a couple of seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Yay,
you.
that was easy.
All right, Linda, if you'll read G3 for us.
Resolution 6949, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman awarding a bid to and authorizing execution of a contract with W Industries of Texas, LLC, based on an invitation to bid for the Emergency Power Generation Water Treatment Plant Emergency Generator.
Thank you, Linda. Tom, good to see you.
Good evening, Mayor, and the evening council. So in response to an advertisement that we made and opening bids about 2 weeks ago, we would like council approval to recommend award to this low bidder. We have checked bidder's qualifications and found the contractor capable of performing the work. If anybody has any questions.
Second. Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Tom.
you. Thank you, Mayor.
Get it in before winter.
All right, Linda.
Before it gets cold.
Exactly.
Oh,
Hurry.
winter.
So it'll be done like in the next month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
He's not paying me. He's not paying me any attention.
Oh,
Okay.
Very long lead times.
Oh, okay, okay.
It won't take long to install once it gets here.
You missed it, man. You missed
Waiting on a chip.
Make it ourselves.
Tip about the half the size of this room, so yeah.
Okay.
All right, next.
Resolution 6950, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with Hewitt Zollard Incorporated for development plan reviews.
Thank you. Wayne?
Mayor, Council, evening. So this is award to a Hewitt Zollars engineering firm to augment the engineering staff's review of development plans. With the unprecedented growth that we've had an unprecedented amount of plans received, such that our review times sometimes have been unreasonable for those developers. And so this contract will allow us to use Hewitt Zollars to help decrease those lead times and those amount of times for review. A lot of these projects we'll give them to review will be, small projects that don't require a whole lot of review time, so that our staff can look and review at the bigger subdivisions. This will be on need basis, hourly charged, for about a year.
Council, any questions?
I'll move to make a motion on 6950 for approval.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Linda, if you read G5 for us, please.
Resolution 6951, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing submission of a grant application to the Office of the Governor, Criminal Justice Division to fund the purchase of bullet-resistant shields for the Sherman Police Department, designating the city manager as the authorized official to accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the city.
Linda, Mary?
Yes, Resolution 6951 is a companion to 6952, which is already approved. 6951 authorizes the grant application for bullet-resistant shields, and 6952 is the training to use those shields. We won't get one grant without the other one.
Council, questions, discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. We are ready to receive the SEMA annual report on the Sherman Cultural District. Thank you for your patience.
I'm here for your 5 minutes of fun. Thank you for having us today. I'm Heidi Rushing. I'm the outgoing president of the Sherman Cultural District Board. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Darren said outgoing with panic. So first I wanted to update y'all. Of course, as a state designated cultural district, we're eligible each year to apply for a grant from the Texas Commission on the Arts. Many of you will remember last year we focused on public art, and that was a successful grant application. This year we decided to focus on supporting an existing cultural event, and we partnered with the Sherman Jazz Museum and the Jazz and More Society to apply for a grant that would support the Sherman Jazz Classic to aid in the marketing and promotion of that event. The vision of that is to grow the Jazz Classic to be a 3-day long event, bring in a big name act to anchor the event, and hopefully get some people from out of town to come into Sherman and spend the weekend with us and experience everything the cultural district has to offer. We don't know yet whether or not that was successful. We'll find out pretty soon, I think. Thursday. So our fingers are crossed that we get that. And of course, if we do, I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more about that. Our fundraiser that we do to generate the in-kind portion of that grant from the Cultural District is, of course, the Shurtown Taco Tour. We had originally held that in July last year, and this year we had it planned for July, and we just thought that was just not going to happen. We were going to melt in the street if we were trying to stand in the middle of Wall Street and eat tacos. And it did turn out to be like the hottest day of the whole summer, the day we were going to have it. So we very wisely decided to reschedule that for October. The weather should be much more amenable at that time of year. So be on the lookout. Tickets should be available for that soon, and you'll want to staff them up quickly. And we'll hope to raise some funds to help support that event. I don't know if that just cut out. I'll just talk louder. So finally, we just wanted to update you on our membership roster. Several of our board members, including myself, have reached the end of our term, so we're rolling off. But don't worry, we've got some great new members. Our new president for the year is Ginger Nye with First United Bank. She couldn't be here tonight, or I would be handing the mic over to her. Many of you probably have met Ginger. If you haven't, I'll say you can look forward to her reports as much as you look forward to mine, because she is delightful. And we do have 5 new board members, some of whom are here tonight. So I'm going to quickly introduce them. And if they are here, they're going to stand up and give a little wave. We have Emily Nelson from the Chamber of Commerce. We have Sarah Wright from Austin College. Jason Lewis from Arthropology Resale. Jody Lynn Litzy, who's a writer and downtown enthusiast, and Lucas Ridley from Presco. So those are our new members for this upcoming cycle. And, I have to be off for a year, but you probably haven't seen the last of me either. We're excited to welcome them to the board, and we look forward to seeing what great things they get up to this year. On that note, please be sure to consult the bottom of the handout you were given, because there's some activities, arts and cultural activities listed that are coming up this fall that you'll want to be aware of. And then I just want to say it's really been a joy to be a part of this group. I've been on the board since we first got the designation, and it's been great to serve out my term and serve as president this last year. And also truly to give these biannual reports to you. I always learn something interesting when I come to the city council meetings. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for service.
We have a few other boards in your year off. We can put you
That's
on.
right. All right. So, council, we're to the point where we appoint, remove, or consider qualifications of boards and commissions. Tonight, we have Main Street Advisory Board.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Preston Davis to the Main Street Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. We are to council comments. Mr. Dobbs.
No comments from me. Thank you.
Heidi has done a great job with the cultural district. She's been there from the beginning till now. That's why I was shocked. I'm like, she can't leave because she's part of the foundation of that program. So continue to let's speed up this year so she can hurry up and get back on that board.
I want to remind everybody that our Parks Department, righty, has a survey out there, and we are looking for more people to fill out the survey about a community center. The city is looking at whether or not we need to build one and what it should incorporate. And so if you have not filled out the survey, please take time to do so and ask around. If your friends haven't done it, please ask them to fill out the survey. It doesn't take that long.
No comment.
Okay.
I'd just like to take a minute and thank the city staff and all our city employees for everything you guys do. I know you're held hostage here every other week, and I appreciate y'all coming and being here. And it was a long, hot summer, and now it's over, and I just want to say thank you.
Well, let's talk about cultural in Taco Tour. So next week, actually this weekend, we have the famous Hispanic Festival, Heritage Festival here in Sherman. It will be from 1 to 7. I got a ticket for every one of y'all here, but it's free. We're gonna have entertainment. We have mariachi bands. We're gonna have a band at the end for dancing. We have tacos. We have pupusas. We have elotes. We have fruit, like frutitas. It's gonna be great. I hope everybody can join us and be there. And now I'm gonna do that in Spanish. That's how I told you. I'm not going to. Hope everybody can come.
All right, thank you, Henry. All right, so Arts Fest is nearly here. One of Sherman's largest events will be held on September. Yes.
One other thing, don't
sorry.
miss. This is one thing that you can't miss. Mayor Plyler will do his bilingual introduction. It's great. His Spanish has gotten so much better. It's amazing.
Yeah, y'all come on out for that. Yeah, be there when it opens.
He will sing with the mariachi band too. He didn't know that.
That's right. With Henry right there with me. But Heidi, thank you for your service. It's been great. All right, so Arts Fest, held on September 17th. Hundreds of vendors, activities for the kids, live music. It's really a great event. Don't forget about that. Also, mark your calendars. We have a Hot Summer Nights bonus concert. We got Jody Messina, September 29th at 7 p.m. So y'all come out to the gazebo area and hear Jody. Finally tonight, Downtown Sherman Now hosts their annual stroll on the square on October 1st. So there's still time to get tickets. So take a look at that. All right, so the City Council will now hold a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Opens Meetings Act. It's section 551.072 to discuss the purchase of real property. So at 6:22, we'll recess into executive session.